Spring represents the sun in its prime. It is like a man of 18 years old. His vitality and fullness of life makes him produce seed constantly. During spring, everything flourishes, as also youngers are producing their eggs. April, the month in which the ancient festival of Easter is celebrated. It represents the most vital phase of the year, and with the most abundance. Our ancestors were carnivores and ate a diet based in animal products. No, you don't have to become a, quote, paleo man or a hunter. Our ancestors used to domesticate wild animals and use them as food. As you may know, April means the growing of pastures. And finally, animals grow fattier again and bring more milk. More milk, which means more cream or butter. By the way, in Vedic language we got the word natha, which means literally principle. And in Spanish we call the cream nata, probably because it is the most nutrient-dense part of the milk. When you eat more fat in April, you got more energy for producing seeds or eggs. Woman gets more fatty and curvy, and Eros represents the protagonist in the life of the young. That's why April is the month of sex, and this was well known in antiquity. Because women get pregnant for 9 months, just in time before the beginning of the hardships of winter. And then Christianity came and inverted the natural cycles and created the period of Pascha, which in English is known as Easter. The Church says that it is an obligation to live in austerity in those times. What a coincidence! Just in the phase of the year where ancients would eat meat the most and have sex the most. The word Pascha, the source of the word Pascua in Spanish, means pain. And it was used by the Church for building the idea of virtue by self-affliction. Of course, now we know that some institutions were created for limiting the expansion of our peoples. Our ancestors started to believe in the propaganda, and when we got the most meat and milk in the year, they started to fast or bearing a vegetarian diet, following the precepts of exogenous elements with insidious intentions. But whatever, we know now that the phase of the year for reproducing is when the sun is in its prime. And I know that now we have plenty of food all the year and that we got warm houses to live in during winter. But if you follow my line, you will realize that we are sons of the sun, and that our ancestors used to have lots of beliefs related with the life of the sun. And especially if you want to have children, it would be an excellent rite if you have them in the month of the goddess Aphrodite. By the way, as you see, the word right is related with the word right. But what is to be right? And what is to be off the right? And why nowadays everyone is throwing sun salutes? Well, because our people got tired of the destruction that is facing. Let me explain. When doing the sun salutes, ancients knew something crucial. If you see the cycles of the sun in the most boreal zones of the earth, as for example Greenland, you will notice that the cycle of the sun goes in the right direction. That's why our Tocharian ancestors created lots of rules related with the cycles of the sun. What we know today as Feng Shui. For example, they used to recommend sleeping with your head in direction to the east, because the sun rises from the east. So going back, the right side would mean the side of nature, the direction in which the sun god moves. The word sinister comes from the Latin sinistrum, that means the left side. And sinis means in ancient Greek, destroyer. So the left is the side that goes against nature and goes against the direction of the sun or life, which is the same. So the sun salute comes as an expression of alliance with the sun god or with life, of fight against the destructive forces. When we see Atlantean civilization maps, as those depicted by the Incas, who were actually brothers of us, and we compare the descriptions that they make of those maps, we realize that they consider the east as the north. For example, the north was for the Incas the coast of Brazil. And you can see that the map is facing in direction to the east. Because again, from the east rises the sun. Forendom, which I consider to be a band which expresses wisdom with their music, writes in one of their songs, Op stiger solen ifram noord. Translated, from the north rises the sun. The symbol of Aries, The goat is an important symbol for our ancestors and has many meanings. It is related, as I said, with the god Thor, Zeus, Indra, who are the same god. It also represents the sky, Uranos in ancient Greek, or the god Varuna in Vedic. You can see that the words Varuna or Uranos are similar, since the U and the V are interchangeable. The Vedic god Varuna is a god known by his wrath against weak mortals. And we got the god Hades, who is the same god, well known by the epics of the Greeks as the god of the war. But also, Hades could mean excellent, virtuous, bravery, or manhood. So we see that Hades is related with Varuna, since he loves those qualities and favors those who have an stoic mindset. Hades is also called Marte by the Romans. From here, our word martial. And March is the month of the warrior, in fact, because of the god Mars. It seems to me that they determined the name of this phase of the year by the name of Mars because it is the toughest month of the year. It is still cold. You endured 3 months of cold and bad weather. Your animals are skinny because of the lack of pastures. The hours of the sun are less, so you feel less happy. Literally, there is less life in the air. And probably you are forced to hunt or rob the animals of neighbor nations, which requires a warlike mentality. Thus, Hades is a god all men should praise, because he represents not just wrath and wrath, but also the whole nature that encompasses man. Hades is related by birth with the supreme god Zeus and the goddess Hera. The second being of an erotic charm, capable of gaining the attraction of the most powerful god. The union of the power fire from Zeus and the sexual fire from Hera gave birth to the terrible warlike deity Hades. From Hades, again, manhood, excellence, virtue, comes the word Haristos, that means noble, best, excellent, capable. And also we got our ancestors from Sumeria with the root Ar, which means glorious. And also more related peoples, clear, we were all around the world, as the old Indians with the Vedic root Iras, that means also broth, or the word Irias, that means fight. And is related with the Greek heris, that means battle, or Sumerian erim, that means hostile. And I could go on and go on with the cognates for proving the level of relation of those peoples. Again, they say that those Sumerian, Egyptian, and Vedic civilizations are exogenous to us. But really, after 2020, Who cares about science? We got lots of countries that are named with the prefix "ar" or "ir". Armenia, Ireland, Iran, Iraq, all ancient Aryan settlements. The modern countries with the root "ar" or "ir" are named like that, probably because the praising of the god Zeus, Indra, Marduk, Thor, that is the same god as I explained in other videos. And this because Zeus is related with the goat, the sacred animal of manhood. So now you know the many significance of the word Aryan. Someone that is noble, excellent, and with man-like character. And that especially has zeal for glory, being that glory is related with victory in battle. That is related with the sacred fire. Doing martial arts increases that fire, as we can experience. War increases fire. They say it is called testosterone, but again, who cares? It is time to get over this ridiculous worldview that is restricting our mind power for reaching the truth. Sex is capable also of increasing fire. We saw that Eros, or the erotic, comes from the goddess Hera, who represents also the sex fire. There was a time when I was going out with quite a lot of women, before becoming a full-time nerd, and I was seeing the number 66 everywhere. I've always asked myself why I was seeing that number, but I didn't see myself finding out the answers in that precise moment. A year later, a friend of mine told me that the number 6 means sex. And then I realized that my company in those times was the goddess of love. The word sex comes from the number 6, that is the number of the serpent and the sexual energy. And the number 6 is pronounced similarly in ancient Turkish languages and Egyptian language. So 6 is a sacred and ancient number related with the mysteries of the sexual energy. And then of course they came and told us that the number 6 was from a kind of a monster or from an impure spirit. Being sexually oriented is a positive trait for our peoples. Sex means life because through the act of sex, we can create copies of ourselves. Sex is related with fire, and the sun is related with fire, and the sun is related with life. Since there cannot be life without the sun. As we see in winter, the infernal or invernal phase of the year. When the sun is the weakest, we live the inferno, that is the lack of life. The sun, by the Vedic peoples, is related with the fire or Agni. The fire god is said to be a god that came from the sun. because he wanted to live among mortals. He is a gift from the divine for making life easier to the Aryans. He is the purifier, from the Greek pur. Purifier of the food because it kills enemies as parasites and nosed fungus, and gives light at night for driving out predators. He also keeps warm at cold times to the only race that lives in cold climates. That's why between our peoples there were fire priests. The Aesir in Asia, the Kasi or Caciques in North America. They knew that the major manifestation of God, that is the sun, had his representation in the earth. And that's why I apply the symbolism of fire in my channel. Fire is said by the Vedics to be the messenger between the gods and the mortals. That's why in sacrifices, or literally, the making of the food sacred, ancients used to use fire for the food touching the divine or the sun. And also they talked to the fire asking something to another god. Or they did praises with songs through the fire god. So we see that without war there cannot be fire or the life of the sun in us. Without sex there cannot be fire or the life of the sun or our sons. In Old Norse, sun is said sol, and sol is related with the word soul, because we are sons of the sun. Lots of times mothers refer to their sons as my soul, like saying my son. You might see that what I am doing here is art. I am fighting for beauty, for excellence. And being aware of our languages is crucial, especially in the times that we are living today, and when lots of our words are inverted. I think we have more chances of winning if you share this information, because we will avoid those words that are confusing our creation power of the reality. And as you may see, you will not learn with me, but remember.